He quickly ran from his position to avoid the next attack, noting how the hall melted from the dragon's power. He realized he had struggled with the small fires and had used too much stamina, now reaching his limits. He knew he'd have to wait a few more minutes before he could go all out and must somehow strike at its weakness, the dragon core. He sprinted toward the dragon, but stopped abruptly when he saw it fly a higher. His future self, smiling, told him that his attacks wouldn't reach it all the way up there. He growled in frustration, cursing under his breath as he wondered what to do next. Glancing around, he searched for anything that might help. His eyes landed on unused containers and trains, sparking an idea. He thought that if he executed his plan, he might get closer to the dragon. His future self asked what he was planning to do, noting that the situation was growing more dire by the second. Ignoring the caution, he grabbed the plushie and dragged it along as he ran. He then leaped onto the containers and up to a pole. His future self yelled that even from such a height, he still wouldn't be able to reach the dragon, to which he responded that he knew. He swung the plushie backward to gain momentum and hurled it hard toward the dragon, shocking his future self. Next, he cast his stop chain spell on the plushie. After that, he leaped towards the plushie and then onto the dragon, causing his future self to shout in shock and disbelief. He yelled at the dragon that he wouldn't let it transform into miasma again and used his stop chain spell to grab the dragon. He knew that such an enemy couldn't be restrained for more than a few seconds, but that was all the time he needed. He thrust his sword towards the dragon's core, struggling because it was extremely hard. He noticed his chain was fading, so he pushed his sword with all his might into the core. The stop chain shattered. Freeing the dragon, he channeled all his magic power into the sword, shattering the dragon's core. It screamed in pain, and fortunately, the core cracked and then exploded, while the plushie fell face first to the ground. A minute later, he emerged from the smoke with a broken sword. But, triumphantly, he had managed to defeat the Chaos Dragon on his own. The dead dragon slowly disappeared, and the system displayed that his level had increased by 15, his swordsman skill by 28, and he had obtained 872,300 credits. He also obtained a material, Chaos Dragon Feg. The system then advised him to check the upgrading options for Adventurer, rank C, and recommended visiting the nearest adventure guild. His future self told him that he had done as well as expected. However, he used him as a stepping stone to gain some footing. Angrily, his future self the meaning of this, but he just ignored him while looking at the system. The system then showed that his secret skill, Space-Time Magic, had increased by 20 levels, and his Material Rewind and Quick Body skills had increased by 2 levels each. His Space-Time Mage passive skill had also increased by 2 levels, and he obtained 50% potential. Unleashing. His future self told him that they had managed to avert a catastrophic event from repeating in the future, so he guessed it was fine and they had achieved what they wanted. Suddenly, his future self heard something approaching and warned him that it seemed like someone had reported the incident, which could be bad for them if discovered. His future self then jumped on his shoulder and told him that they were leaving now. Told his future self that it was rare for them to agree on something. He then jumped inside the fence and rushed to his apartment building. Once inside, he grabbed some food and opened it, remembering something. He then asked his future self if he needed to eat at all, to which his future self replied that there was no way Plushie would be capable of eating and told him to try using common sense to figure things. He retorted that if he used common sense, a plushie that could talk was way crazier. Just as he was about to eat, he remembered something he needed to do that he had almost forgotten, so he stood up and walked to his small desk. He then poured a drink into the cup and placed it in front of their family picture while telling his mother, father, and little sister Ria that he was home. His future self stared at him in silence, and he told him not to poke fun at him for doing it. His future self replied that he wouldn't because, after all, he was him. His future self then decided to leave out the thing about Ria for now and continued keeping it a secret because it was still too soon for him to know, and swore that he'd tell him when he grows as a space-time mage. He then tells his future self that he just obtained some weapon material earlier, which is the Chaos Dragon Fong. His future self tells him that his sword is already falling apart and won't withstand another battle, so it's perfect timing. His future self also suggests taking a break from school tomorrow to go do some weapon synthesis. The next day, they arrive at the Adventurers Guild Shinjuku Metropolitan Government Office Branch. He tells his future self that he used to think that place had nothing to offer a weak, small-time adventurer like him. His future self proudly smiles and tells him that all of it is now possible, thanks to him. But he just walks into the building, telling his future self that as soon as they are done with their business there, they are going home and he shouldn't roam anywhere on his. Inside the reception lobby, he hears an announcement that the person with number 23 should proceed to the reception counter, indicating it was their turn. He approaches the counter and the lady asks him the purpose of his visit today. He replies that he has finished conquering a dungeon and would like her to check his results. He then hands his card to the lady who, though she initially thinks he looks like just a plain and weak adventurer, takes his card and tells him to let her take a look at his adventurer card. The lady inserts the card into her system. When the system reads the card, a panel appears in front of him. She tells him they need to confirm his identity, so he should place his hand on the panel and they will be able to check his results afterward. He places his palm on the panel as instructed, and the lady begins to check his results. However, she is shocked to discover that he has ranked up from rank E to rank C in just one day, which seems impossible to her. Stuttering, the lady exclaims that it's so strange and asks if there is a terminal malfunction. When he notices people staring at them because of the lady's action, he realizes that it was bad. And if things continued like this, he would stand out far too much, something he absolutely detested as he hated dealing with troublesome situations. He then used his material rewind on the system and told the lady, who was facing away from him, that the system had finished authenticating his identity. The lady checked the system again and saw that his rank was E, which confused her and prompted her to ask what was going on. He asked the lady if something was wrong, but she stuttered that nothing was amiss and that she would return his card, all the while thinking how strange the situation was. He took his card and thanked the lady. After he left, the system reverted his rank to its original status, which was rank C. His future self commended him for cleverly applying a rewind to the screen, remarking that they needed to prevent their future paths from diverging as much as possible. A few minutes later, they arrived in front of the elevator, and he asked his future self if this was their destination. His future self confirmed it was and instructed him to step into the elevator. He did so and waited for the doors to open. When the elevator doors opened, he realized they were on the rank of floor. He told his future self that they couldn't enter unless they were rank, but his future self simply told him to forget about it and then transformed into a letter. He looked at the letter, puzzled by the situation, but his future self ordered him to hold it up to the scanner. He reminded his future self that they were in a high-security area, but his future self insisted he just follow the instructions. He complied and scanned the letter at the scanner. Then the ranker gate opened, and he walked inside while his future self told him they should begin synthesizing a weapon suitable for a space-time mage immediately, making him smile in excitement.